YouTube friends, Marcel Haster here from liveprog. I'm going to do something different. I mean, I've done so many of these video reviews and I think it's time for something new. Something nobody has ever done before. So, starting with this one, and as of now, I'm going to bring my reviews in the form of interpreted dance. And here's the first one. Enjoy!
We are
Everest,
and
you are
watching
liveprog. Ow, sorry. Well, as I was saying, hello YouTube friends, Marcel Haster here from liveprog. It's time for a new album review. And I have yet another debut album. They keep on coming. But this one is really beautiful and I'm really happy I can share this one with you. It is the album Dissonance by Kowai. Kowai is a Dutch female-fronted metal band hailing from the middle of Holland, formed in 2006, released their debut EP, a demo EP called Prelude in 2009, and after that they started working on their first full-length album, which has become this very one. And a beautiful album at that, with really beautiful artwork, a nice digipack as you can see, and we have the CD in here and a booklet and everything. 9 tracks, 40 minutes of music and 40 minutes of quality music.
What am I to do with my one wish when my heart is willing, but my hands too weak? I don't want to face the fear I feel, but in this land of false pretense,
I dropped my whole resentment towards the female-fronted metal term. I have embraced it, and that is how I discovered this band. Because I joined a female-fronted metal group on Facebook and I saw that there are a lot of amazing bands out there. A lot of bands that are just starting, you know, bringing their debut albums, and Kowai is one of them. This band posted a link in that Facebook group to their Bandcamp site where you could listen to the album in its entirety. And that is what I did, and that's when I realized, you know, I really wanted to feature this album here on liveprog. Now, a Dutch band, but they have a Japanese name, Kowai. Kowai means scary or creepy. I don't find this album scary or creepy at all. I find it more kawaii, which means cute, or kirei, which means beautiful, or suteki, which means nice. I hope I didn't butcher these Japanese words because I am terrible when it comes to foreign languages, but that's besides the point. What we have here is a very fresh sounding album, but at the same time, I have to be honest, when I listened to this album, I heard a very familiar sound, a sound that I really liked very much. The first thing I thought was, wow, this is, in my opinion, you know, I have to important, you know, everything I say in this review is my opinion, so you don't have to agree with that. That's the beauty of it. But when I listened to this album, I thought, you know, in my opinion, this should have been the album that Within Temptation released after Mother Earth. Mother Earth was the breakthrough album for Within Temptation, and after that they grew out to one of the biggest bands in the Netherlands. But over the years their sound changed. But if you go back to the early days of Within Temptation, but not just Within Temptation, the early days of many bands, because also another band that came to mind when I listened to this album was Epica, when I heard their debut album, and also made a huge impression on me, and I love that very much, and that is the same what I have with this album. But if you go back to that early day Within Temptation, there they really bring out the female-fronted metal with grunts and everything. In Mother Earth they dropped the grunts, but they became more symphonic. And that symphonic element is very much present in the music of Kowai, and that is what I like very much about it. It is very melodic music, it is very accessible music, sometimes even catchy, But it is not as bombastic as many female-fronted metal bands are. As a matter of fact, they toned it down a little bit. Even with the grunts, and that is something I definitely like, the grunts are also more subtle. Sometimes you have these really screams and these really, over-the-top grunts in it, but in this case they are very subtle, woven into the music. Although in a track like Man's Downfall, the grunts start off and there we have this heavier edge to the music. But apart from that, this band moves more a bit to the acoustic side of the music spectrum, and that I find very interesting. Now, you maybe have seen it yet, but when you open up this, there's this card in it which looks like a business card, which has a QR code on it and a link to a website. And when I visited that website, I was able to download 3 additional songs. One of these songs also on this album, Earth Below, and 2 songs that were not on the album. And I listened to those songs and I noticed that Earth Below clocks 15 minutes, almost 3 times as long as on the album. But these 3 songs are acoustic songs, and that I found very interesting, that approach to their music. And that is also a bit the vibe that this album gives off, and I really like that very much.
Find your pride and leave behind salvation, redemption, still the same.
If you listen to the first track of the album, and another thing I'm so happy about that these guys are not doing, they don't start off the album with an overture or an intro or a prelude or whatever. They start the first album with the first song. It's called Yield, and when that song starts, it really builds up to this crescendo. The first minute of that song is really fantastic. When you have these orchestrations coming up and you have these drums coming up and then have the guitars in it, and after about a minute, the vocals come in. Laura van Ness. And when she starts to sing, goosebump factor 10. Definitely. It is a fantastic combination. We have 5 very talented, very skilled musicians. And we have this really beautiful singer. And that combination, when I listen to the music, I have fallen in love with this music. And there I make the reference to that debut album from Epica, The Phantom Agony. When I heard that album, I loved it. From the moment I heard it, the same was with this. When I started listening to this album on Bandcamp, I knew it like, wow, this is really fantastic. I love this music very much. It is only 40 minutes. It is a bit short. Well, you could debate on that. I mean, we're talking quality and not quantity, of course. And, put this on a vinyl and you have a full-length record. So this is a full-length debut record of the band Kowai, and they should be very proud of it. Next to the amazing music, the whole way it is brought, I mean, if you listen to the songs, and the catchy part comes in a couple of tracks, In Retrospect, Pride and Earth Below. The choruses in those tracks are catchy, When you listen to the album, there is a very strong chance you will sing along with them. I did. I'm not gonna do that here, I want more subscribers, not less. So I'm not gonna sing. I leave that to Laura van Ness because, as I said, she has a really beautiful voice. Not the typical soprano voice, but just a voice that you really can enjoy. It is, I would say, a heavenly voice. So, how do you describe feelings? Very hard sometimes, and that is art. And art, of course, everyone experiences music in a different way, but I see this as really beautiful art. Not scary at all. An independent band, and I like to support independent bands as much as I can. But I have to make a distinction between that, because nowadays technology becomes more available and a lot of people can, record music in their own home, on their own computer. You don't need a studio, you would almost think. Fortunately, the band Kowai took their debut very serious. They wanted to have a really good album that made an impression on people, which is very important because there are so many releases coming out these days that as a band you have to bring a quality album to get noticed, to get attention and to get people to buy your music. So you can at least, get some money back from all the money you put in making this album, because it is not cheap. It costs a lot of money, and I have seen a lot of independent bands bringing out albums on their own or with a Kickstarter or other crowdfunding project. But still, you know, as I said, there is a booklet in here. I'll just show you a few things. And again, you know, that art idea and what you saw on the front. I mean, if you look at, you know, the images inside, they are really beautiful, and you know, they really put in a lot of work in creating a really fantastic album. Not just in the music. I mean, the music is short to phenomenal. I really love that very much. I have been listening to this album every chance I got. You know, this is one of those albums that really grabs you and doesn't let you go anymore. And that is a good sign that these guys have done that. But and I have to go back to the booklet again. You know, they have brought a fantastic package, and as I said, they have a booklet. I have seen a lot of independent debut releases with just a digipack and a CD in it, and that was it, and you had to go to the website, you know, to see the lyrics. Nothing wrong with that. I mean, if you don't have the budget for it, then, you know, you do with the means you have. But I'm really happy that Kowai has managed to really, you know, do a little bit extra.
I only look away as my road is overtaken.
Greed has been man's downfall and will be so again. Forever I serve, forever you.
They did a little bit more extra, and that is something I recommend to every starting band out there, and I think that is very important. These credits here, mastered by Joost van den Broek, produced, recorded and mixed by Joost van den Broek and Jeffrey Revet. Jeffrey Revet, I am not familiar with it, but they made a reference on the website that he is connected to Stream of Passion. Joost van den Broek, I know. I have had the pleasure of meeting him a couple of years back. I knew him when he was still playing in Suncaged. He played in After Forever, he played with other bands, but also he has become an amazing producer. He is the guy to go to when you want a quality release. And he has worked on this album together with Jeffrey Revet. So they brought in a professional, but maybe even if your budget isn't, you know, if you can't afford a real professional, bring in someone who has a lot of experience in recording and producing and mixing an album, because that will really enhance the quality of your album. And that is what you want, right? I mean, if you can write great songs, but you have a bad release, and people say sound quality doesn't matter. Sorry, sound quality matters. If I hear good songs, but they sound crappy, I don't listen to them. If I hear crappy songs that sound great, I don't listen to them either. So I think both are very important. I say this album sounds absolutely fantastic. On one side, because the band wrote amazing songs and they performed the songs very well, but on the other hand, you have some good guys in the studio mixing, mastering and producing the album. Now, again, you know, an advice to all starting bands out there, or even bands that are going on for a longer time, get someone else to join in, not just the guys in the band, but also someone from the outside who has a fresh ear, a fresh take on the music and can help to bring out a better album. So all these factors together makes this album for me stand out. I am really happy that I picked out this album from that stream of bands that I saw in that female fronted metal Facebook group, because this album is definitely very much recommended, worth to be heard. I say check it out. For that reason, I give this album a really solid 9. Check them out, Kowai Dissonance, and check out that Bandcamp page, because, you know, if my review didn't convince you but at least made you curious, then go to that Bandcamp site, listen to that album, and I'm pretty sure that by then your mind will be made up and you will be buying this album. This was my take on the album Dissonance by Kowai, this one here. I hope I made you curious to this one. Well, let me know, are you familiar with this band? Have you maybe seen this band live? And if so, what do you think of this album? Now, this band has invested a lot in bringing a physical release of their album. So Would you be willing to support that, you know, to support the band, or do you prefer the digital versions like you can download from Bandcamp or iTunes? Let me know as a comment again. And when you're at my YouTube channel, you know, there's this little button called subscribe. You can click on that. You will stay up to date on many more videos that are coming your way. And of course, I hope you will see me at a new review, but for now I say, check out this one, Kowai, Dissonance.